I know I'm supposed to be talking about Doctor Who, but today I'm going to go off on a completely wild tangent. I hope you don't mind. Welcome to the Time Treadmill. I'm Ron, and these are my sweaty thoughts about Doctor Who. The Abominable Snowmen aired a year before I was even born, so it's just a tiny bit before my time. One of the central plot elements to the story are these silver spheres that are basically control units managed by the Great Intelligence, and they operate the robotic Yeti creatures. Now, these silver spheres outside of the Yetis are able to move independently. They're shown quite a bit of the time rolling around on the floor, but at least at one point, one hovers in the air and floats over to dock itself into the chest cavity of one of the robotic Yeti. Now, if you're like me, the image of a floating silver sphere conjures up a very specific thing. So let's find out how many of you out there are children of the 70s and 80s. I've been a horror fan my entire life, and the first truly scary movie I ever saw that I had no business seeing at that age was Phantasm. Phantasm came out in 1978, so about 11 years after The Abominable Snowmen. And it is a bizarre, dreamlike, surrealistic horror film with an evil, undead alien mortician known only as the Tall Man, his minions of miniaturized dwarves that look like Jawas, clearly cribbed from Star Wars, and most iconically, the Silver Spheres. Throughout all of the Phantasm movies, the Silver Spheres are omnipresent. They're floating silver alien sentry devices that are homicidal in the extreme. As they're flying along, they have a tendency to sprout wicked blades and embed themselves in the faces of hapless wanderers. And so, one of the most iconic scenes in the original Phantasm film, and warning here, not safe for kids coming up, is when a mortuary caretaker gets a bladed silver sphere embedded in his face, and then a power drill comes out, bores into his skull, and blood pumps out the back of the sphere. Just an ungodly, ridiculous amount of blood. It's vivid and visceral and horrifying, and I was 11 years old, and holy cow, I was shook. I love that movie so much. It was the first movie that ever truly scared the piss out of me. I think probably literally. So when I see these silver spheres floating around in The Abominable Snowman, that's the thing I picture in my head. And I know the two are completely unrelated. Abominable Snowman was way earlier, and I'm really confident that writer-director Don Coscarelli had never seen The Abominable Snowman. But my love for Phantasm is so deep and abiding. 20 years ago, I got to go to a Phantasm film festival in Austin, Texas at the Alamo Drafthouse, where all four, at the time, movies were screened back-to-back over the course of 3 nights. And not only was writer-director Don Coscarelli there, but Angus Scrimm, the Tall Man, was there, and Reggie Bannister was there. It was just an incredible experience. I got to meet them all and hang out with them, and I'm gonna see if I can dig up. I have a picture of me with the Tall Man, showing that I'm actually taller than the Tall Man. Hopefully I can find it and show it right here, and if I'm able to, can I just say, wow, 20 years ago me was way thinner. So while we were at that film festival, I got to hear my all-time favorite Phantasm Silver Sphere related story. So there's a particular action scene in the third movie in which a hearse gets into a wreck. And that scene involved a stunt driver taking the hearse off a ramp to get it airborne, to get a really impressive shot. Now, in the days leading up to the filming of that scene, during the planning of it, the stunt driver went up to the director and he said, "You know, I think I can hit that ramp at about 35 miles an hour. And Don Coscarelli said, "Okay, great, that'll work perfect." And then the next day, the stunt driver came back to him and said, "You know, actually, I think I can pull it off at that distance at 45 miles an hour. And Don Coscarelli said, "Okay, you're the stunt guy, I'm gonna trust you. You do what you can." And then it came the day of the filming, and the stunt driver said, "Get the cameras ready, I think I can go a little bit faster." And so they started rolling the cameras, and the stunt driver floors the hearse and comes barreling towards the ramp while they're rolling camera. He hits that ramp at 65 miles an hour. The hearse launches into the air, twists, has this incredible scene, comes landing down. They cut the cameras, everyone comes rushing to the car to see if the stunt driver is okay, and he is completely stunned and winded by the ground impact. And they pull him out of the car, he's laying there on the ground, their people are giving him some space. A doctor is checking over him to make sure he's not injured, and Don Coscarelli runs up to him to see if there's anything he can do. He looks down at the stunt driver and he says, "Hey man, is there anything I can do for you?" And the driver looks up to him and he says, "Yeah, man, you can give me a sphere." And so, to this day, that stunt driver is the only person outside of Don Coscarelli who owns one of the original on-camera spheres used in the Phantasm films. I am so insanely jealous. So therein concludes my 4 or 5 minutes of not talking about Doctor Who today. I promise tomorrow I will get back to talking about the Abominable Snowman, but I couldn't look at silver spheres and not tell that story. So until tomorrow, please stay home, stay safe, be kind, and be patient. I will see you tomorrow.